Greetings and welcome to Political Science 1. I am going to be your instructor for the semester. My name's Richard Randall. I'm going to introduce this course in two mini lectures because when I was a student and I was sitting in class, this was obviously well before the COVID world. I really had two questions. The first was, why is the person who's in the front of the room, why are they here? Why are they teaching and why are they teaching the particular subject they happen to be teaching? And then once I knew that, the second thing that I wanted to know was what are the mechanics of the course? And I'll be perfectly honest, in reality, what I wanted to know is how am I going to get an A in this class? Is this class um, lecture based, exam based, based on papers, projects, or whatever? So, in these two mini lectures, I'm going to try to answer those two questions. In this first one, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Uh, like you, today, for those of you who follow the news even a little bit, this is a great time to be taking American government. It's kind of crazy out there. Just like when I was a teenager, I went through a similar experience in that there was a president that was really well liked by some people and really disliked by people. Of course, when I was a teenager, the president of the United States, Richard Nixon, resigned from office, and we ended up with a man, Gerald Ford, who hadn't been elected president or vice president because Nixon's vice president, Spiro Agnew, had also resigned. Today, of course, a couple days ago, when we're counting the Electoral College votes, there was, you can call it whatever you want, a riot, an insurrection, whatever you want to call it. And we have a president that is really loved by a group of people and is absolutely despised by a group of people. In my lifetime, I've never seen such a polarizing figure as Donald Trump. The group of people who love him are fully committed to him, and the people who hate him really want to see him from office. And I think that really explains why there was record turnout in terms of the number of people who voted in this election, because Donald Trump got the second most votes of any candidate in history. The problem is the person with the most votes, at least the problem for him, was that Joe Biden got the most votes of anyone in American history. And so for me, it's an exciting time to teach this subject. It's kind of sad for the country, I think, because we've kind of become a country of tribes. The two political parties see each other as enemies, and I'll talk about this in more detail later on. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I don't think I'm the typical person who teaches political science. The American Political Science Association does a survey every year of political scientists. And what the American Political Science Association says is that political science teachers uh, grew up in usually an upper middle class family, one parent college educated, and now it's getting very close to both parents college educated. I didn't grow up that way. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky in the 1950s, so that kind of tells you that, yes, I'm as old as I look. Uh, my mom dropped out of the ninth grade and got married at 14 to my dad. My dad, and if any of you are interested in how or why my dad got kicked out of the 11th grade, he knocked out his electronics teacher. It's kind of an intriguing story, but uh, that's an office hour story. That's not a story for an introduction. But the point is, neither of my parents went to college. And in fact, of my four grandparents, only one of the four even went to high school. The other three grandparents went to the eighth grade, and that was the end of their education. So, certainly, growing up poor, in fact, our first little shack where my mom and dad went to when they got married. Um, Dirt floor, had an outhouse, an outdoor toilet. There was not indoor an indoor toilet facility. Cold running water, 2 rooms. Um, Very, very poor. So certainly socioeconomically, I don't fit the typical political science teacher. And in terms of educational attainment of my family, I certainly don't fit that. So raises an interesting question. How and why am I here? Well, the first significant thing that happened to me as a child is I was run over by a drunk babysitter. I usually go into a bit more detail face to face, but what I'll tell you here is at 7, I was run over. I was nearly killed when I was run over by the drunk woman. And I was, in fact, they even brought a priest in for last rites. They didn't think I'd make it till morning. And so I wanted to be a surgeon. Found out later that I didn't have the eye-hand coordination to be a surgeon, so I didn't get to do that. I split my time as a child. My dad's family is from Kentucky. My mom's family is actually from California, and my mom and her mom and her sister had gone back to Kentucky when my mom was 12. And my mom and dad got divorced a couple of times, and I lived with my dad in high school back in Kentucky, and then I came out to California, and like you, I went to a community college. I went to Modesto Junior College. I still had my rather thick Southern accent, and I wanted to be a sports announcer, preferably a baseball announcer, but at that time, sports talk shows were kind of getting started, and I thought maybe I would become a talk show host. And I had a wonderful teacher. He took me under his wings. He spent enormous amounts of hours. I'm guessing 60, 70 hours of his time for no pay, and got rid of my accent. I don't think I have a great voice, but later in life, I did briefly in Merced have a political talk show, so it worked. Uh, and by the time I was offered a job in sports talk, I had become interested really in politics and in teaching. And I've been teaching. My first teaching job was as a teaching assistant at UC Davis in 1983. So that gives you an idea of how long I've been doing this. I've been teaching at the community college since 1989. I started teaching at American River College up in the Sacramento area in Carmichael. And I have been teaching at Merced College since 1998. So this is my 23rd year at Merced College. I have also been teaching political science part time at Cal State Stanislaus. I think this is my 11th year teaching part time there. I am also a representative. We're going to talk about democracy and voting and representation, and I'm one of those people. I am currently the president of the Faculty Association. So the faculty of the college voted for me to be their president, and so I talk to administrators about issues of interest to the faculty. I also oversee a negotiating team that negotiates contracts. So I've been president before when my hair was brown in the old days, and fairly recently, a couple of years ago, after being the lead negotiator for the faculty for about 12 years, am doing that. So politics to me is something I teach, but it's also something I do in terms of representing my colleagues. And at one time, was actually asked to run for the California state legislature, but I didn't. I got interested in teaching political science I think almost by accident. It's strange how things occur. I actually thought I was going to be a professor at a research university. I was offered a finals interview. I don't know if I would have gotten the job at Penn State, and that's about the time I was offered the job at Merced College. So this was my dream job. I think the community college changed my life. As a poor person, I always thought that college was a place that rich kids went to school, and poor boys went to work. At least that's what I was told. It's also kind of the lyrics of a famous song. But at the community college, I had my life turned around and realized that I did belong there. So, for those of you who are a little nervous because you're first generation college, I was one of those people. If you grew up poor, I think that education is the best mechanism to upward mobility in terms of social class. I could not imagine when I was a young person that I would enjoy the lifestyle that I do today. So I think you're going to enjoy the course, the way that the course is organized, and I'll go into requirements in the next mini lecture. But to just give you the 3 minute kind of summary, what I have done is I put my lecture notes in the modules, and you'll see modules in the left toolbar, and you already know the sidebar, I should say, and you obviously know where it is because you already got here. I have embedded 15-minute mini lectures. They range from 14 minutes and 55 seconds to 15 minutes and 5 seconds. I think every single one of them is within about a 10 second range. You can listen to the mini lectures and follow along with the written notes. And that is essentially the course. You will take, I don't know, last semester I only had 3 exams, but usually 4 or 5. I always drop the lowest exam, and the hardest one is the first one. So uh, uh, I'm telling you that up front. I'll probably tell you in subsequent lectures. I think the course is very doable. I think if you listen to the mini lectures and you study the notes, I think the book is helpful. When I think about a course, there's about 48 hours of actual teaching once you take holidays out, once you take test days out. So the way I look at it is I have 2 days, 48 hours to introduce you to a wonderful field of study. And political science to me is fascinating because the currency of political science is power, and power is a behavior. It's the ability to get you to do something you wouldn't otherwise do. And certainly, uh, there's politics in our everyday life, but we're going to be interested in the people who wield influence over you on a day to day basis. For example, there are, I believe, about 41,000 government regulations if you've had a fast food hamburger recently. There have been over 111,000 court cases fought over various aspects of that hamburger. And so, if there's that much government involved in your fast food hamburger, think about your education, your job, your life in general. And certainly, I believe you should know something about these people who have exerted this kind of power over you, and to let you know that you have some power. Not as much as you probably would like. Certainly, in my case, not as much as I would like, but perhaps more than you think. And average people like you and I have had a dramatic influence on government. Average people like you and I have actually sued the government successfully and won. People like you and I have formed interest groups and lobbied government and changed policy. And we're going to talk about this two-way street of power in this course. I will get into the specifics of the syllabus in the next mini lecture, but welcome to Political Science 1. I hope you're going to enjoy this course. Have a wonderful, wonderful year.